What's good, folks? Welcome to another edition of the Cover One Film Room, the show that gives you the hows and the whys behind both the good and the bad of the Buffalo Bills. I am one of your two hosts, Anthony Prohaska, joined as always by Eric Turner. And Eric, the Bills are 3-0. Schedule threw us off a little bit from a film room perspective, a little wonky. We're here on a Thursday because they played, or we're here on a Tuesday because they played on Thursday last week and fitting things in. But here we are. The Bills are 3-0, 2 victories against the AFC East, 3 victories against the AFC Conference as a whole. How you feeling? How you doing? How's it going?
I mean, you right there, you said it. You know, they're already 2-0 in their division, 3-0 start to start off the first quarter of the season, kind of breaking it down, by quarters, the season by quarters. I think that this game was, I know for some fans, a little stressful. For me, I felt calm. I still felt, much like we said last week, that this team feels different. I think that they don't bite off more than they can chew on both sides of the ball. And I think that sometimes maybe that feels like they're playing down to an opponent, but really they're just sticking to the game plan, chugging along. And when someone needs to make a play, usually that's Josh Allen. When someone needs to make a play, sometimes that's Terrel Bernard. So I feel like that was a little more stressful for some fans than what they expected going in, but what they expected going in framed that perception. And so for me as a fan, as an analyst, I felt calm and collected. I felt like confident that they were going to pull it out no matter what.
Yeah, and to kind of piggyback on that, I know Miami came into the game 0-2. And it was an ugly 0-2, especially in week 1. And I know they're sitting here at 0-3. But that game kind of went par for the course for me against the Bills. Like, they, for better or for worse, and for much as has been made about, Josh Allen's record against the Dolphins, Sean McDermott's record against the Dolphins, we talked about it on the show last week. Miami has played Buffalo pretty tough despite all those wins. And we've talked about issues that Miami has had that have given the Bills problems. So to sit there in the second half and seeing it be 21-21 and the Bills punting on 3 straight, well, technically 3 straight, and then the third one gets nullified by the roughing the punter. Poor Zach Sealer. He just got to feel sick if you're him. But it's a game against the team that has played you tough. It's a division game. It's a Thursday game. I just wasn't expecting a blowout. I know a lot of folks kind of saw that, and I think that's where some of the frustration came through. Like, this Miami team sucks. How come they're not, if this game should be 40-0? I know a lot of folks were kind of bringing up the idea of, if the Bills blow them out tonight, does Mike McDaniel get fired? Like, that's where the conversation was going to. And so you're sitting there seeing it tied, and I think folks were like, this team sucks. The Bills are supposed to be good. What's going on? And then we get the trickle down from that smaller picture.
No doubt about it. And again, it comes back to how you framed or expected this game to turn out. Much like the conversation that took place immediately after this game, because it was so close for a good portion of that game, especially the second half. And that is the Bills' offensive identity, their inability to pass it down the field, take those shots. We haven't really seen all that. We haven't seen that portion of the offense quite yet. And so some people are a little worried. Some people are like, okay, I know that's something that you're concerned about, how they can stretch the field vertically, not necessarily just horizontally.
So for me, I put a tweet out, and it kind of medium blew up, but there were so many comments on opposite sides. So I tweeted out kind of during the game of like what the Bills' identity is, like run the football, what Josh Allen can do. The tight ends have been great, yada, yada. I was like, but at some point they'll need, to be able to kind of play from a deep perspective with the pass or from like an intermediate chunk type of play.
Yeah.
I didn't mean that they couldn't. I didn't mean like that they're screwed. I was just like, at some point, what the Dolphins did, which was cap everything and try and stymie the run, eventually you'll have to loosen it up a bit and kind of play with some chunks. And it was, most of the responses were on one side of like, yeah, they can't hit anything deep. They suck. And everybody was like, and then the other side was like, well, they did in the fourth quarter against the Ravens, so they're completely fine. And I didn't expect it to be such like I literally was just like, this offense is really good. At some point, defenses are going to try and take away what they're allowing the Bills to do now, and we'll see what happens. Yeah, and it's continued as a talking point really for this whole week, like that explosive downfield aspect versus what they've been really good at now, which is, oh, you're going to give us this look. Cool. Here's an easy completion. Cool. We're going to run the ball, make it nice and light, and don't make it hard unless we have to.
Right. And I feel like the expectations and the fans' perspective on it, I don't think it's out of whack. I do
No,
think
yeah.
game there definitely were options high vertically down the field. But as we'll talk about when we're talking to identity and how this game unfolded as the show goes on, I think just Josh, as we always talk about, took the profit and threw it underneath.
Yeah.
Overall, the numbers you can't argue with. Josh Allen's only attempted passes over 20 yards 9.1% of the time, which according to Pro Football Focus. And so that's 9 attempts, and he's completed half of those. So the 55.6% completion percentage for 130 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. But then as you're looking at some of these stats from PFF, like that's why his 55.6% completion percentage is so high. It's a low sample. So I understand why fans want to see the deep ball, Josh Allen, his big arm and those big plays. It's great. But there's two things I want to talk about in relation to that. First of all, I'll get it out of the way because it really pertains to the other side of the ball is for all the complaints we're hearing about this team is on the defensive side of the ball.
Yes.
If they are throwing deep ball passes and scoring, you're putting that defense in a bind.
You're putting it back on the field too. Yeah. We don't want that.
So 3, 4, 5, play drives. I don't think that's necessarily good complementary football from a top-down perspective. That's one easy one to get out of the way. But overall, for years, Anthony, we have all been talking about making this team a YAC team, a yards after catch, a run after catch team. And I think that has, since Joe Brady's taken over, something we talked about as soon as he took over, was that how he was going to inject that into the team. And he's done a great job of doing that. And they are a run first team. They are, they control the tempo with their offensive line. It's a great offensive line. They have a really good running back, obviously an elite quarterback, and they want to get the ball out of Josh's hands, which right now he is one of the fastest snap to attempts he's ever had in his career, and getting it into the hands of the guys that can do things after the catch, like Shakir, Cook, Kincaid. And I think that is the offensive identity that right now complements the Bills defense, where they're at with some of the young and, defensive linemen, with some of the changes that we've seen that we love, but they're still working through some of those kinks. And I think the Bills offensive identity right now, more so short, intermediate, run the ball, not vertically passing down the field. Not that they can't. It's like scouting 101, right? Just because you don't see a wide receiver run a certain route doesn't mean he can't run it.
Absence of evidence is not evidence of absence.
There it is. I think that right now is just Joe Brady and the team overall, top down, playing complementary football. And that is the Bills' offensive identity. And I think it is also tied to the defense, not necessarily they can't go deep.
Yeah, I think it's a fair point, and we've talked about it so much, like the line that I've said so much this offseason, like despite having the MVP of the league and he's a quarterback, this is like a run first team, take the profit type of team. They win with formation and alignment and having 3 really fun tight ends and like a good top 6 in the offensive line room. And it's not like, we have the MVP QB. We're going to chuck it 35 to 40 times a game for 300 to 400 yards. It is run the ball. Oh, first down. This thing is open. Let me check it down to Cook for 5 yards. Oh, now it's 2nd and 5. Or you know what? He broke a tackle. Now it's 2nd and 7. Efficient. And we're going to run. Yes. Efficient. Take the profit, which is funny too. In like the conversation of Allen and his evolution, like it was so much wild horse stuff early on. And it was like, do you remember? I remember doing when we did the Dolphins playoff game where they had to play like their 3rd string quarterback. And Bills went up like 21-0, but they kept just taking shots. And everybody was dying for like, dude, take the check down. Dude, hit the underneath. Like, dude, this and that. And now it's like, no, that's not good enough. And I understand where some of it comes from. Like if you're playing Miami, just use that game as the example. Like, and the game's it's tight and you're punting 3 drives in a row and you're not sustaining drives and the run is tight and the pass is tight. I understand that notion of like, okay, like, how come they're not attacking downfield? How come they're not trying to stretch? How, is it because they won't? Is it because they can't? That can get worrisome going in the future. And even for me, like that's a button I wish like, okay, in one of those, like, can they create a chunk play to kind of back the defense up a little bit? But on the whole, to your point, and I think to where we're going in this is, what their identity is. And Brady even talked about it after game. Like, if these teams are showing too high structures, which the Dolphins did in this game, 81% too high structure rate, which is crazy. Like, you're going to complete stuff underneath. You are going to run the football. You are going to make life easy for Josh Allen in the offense until you
Why his
like
completion percentage was so high too.
exactly. He's
Just
22 of 28.
underneath.
He's just checking in underneath. He's finding the guys in the void. And until defenses make them go elsewhere, they're going to keep going that way. Now, for some, and I think it's fair to have that question of, okay, if they do have to go elsewhere, can they be good at it? And you and I have even talked about some of Allen's deeper ball passing struggles the past couple of years, which is crazy compared to where he's improved elsewhere. So I think it's fair to question that, but to talk about it as like a fundamental problem at this point, I think is a bit far, especially to right or wrong. We're 3 games into the year. Like, this is a very, very small sample size, 3 different game scripts. And but I wasn't expecting that conversation to really, I should have known, because a lot of folks expected everybody to beat the brakes off Miami, and they didn't. But it's funny now. It's everybody wanted easy buttons for years. Get a guy that you can just spit the ball out to, and he can break
easy
tackles.
button. I remember that button.
Yeah. They don't have enough easy buttons, and they're pushing it downfield, and they're attacking too much, and there's too many 2nd and 10s and 3rd and 10s, and it's funny how I think it's good team problems. Eventually, like, things just kind of come full circle in some way, shape, or form.
And you hear, like you said, the evolution of Josh and how he's not turning it over. 36 out of his 88 interceptions occurred on passes 20 air yards or more over the course of his career. 36 out of 88 interceptions. And so, the Bills' identity, I think it works right now. I think it worked last year. They're a YAC team. They're a run after catch team. Through 3 weeks, their yards after catch per reception is 5.9. That is 2nd overall. That, again, these aren't surprises. This is what we expected with Brady. We did a whole show on it.
Yep.
That his lineage and what it was going to mean for the running backs and the guys underneath like Shakir.
And they're 2nd overall in total yards after catch too. So from an efficiency and volume standpoint, they're up there.
52.5% of the receiving yards happens after the catch. That's 6th overall. So that run game, the short passing game, calculated shots deep, limiting those low percentage throws down the field. Again, we showed you all the stats to start off the show. That's where they're at right now. And against the Dolphins, I think both offenses, they kind of lived by this. The Bills in that game against the Dolphins had a 7.3 yards after catch per reception, and that was 75.1% of the receiving yards done after the catch. So again, I think a lot of that has to do with the strategy the Dolphins put on the field, like you said, playing those 2 high safety structures. Some of the pressures they sent, you saw Josh get into some of those screens and just dumping it down to Kincaid, spitting out there on those screens, in the orbit touchdown, like little things like that, got the ball to Josh's hands at or near, or sometimes behind the line of scrimmage, and allowed those guys to work. He was a point guard. And I know it's hard to swallow at times when the game's close, because you want to see him just throw it all over the field and score points and whatnot. And
especially if you see the offense be sluggish or struggle, it's understandable.
Right. But the Dolphins did a good job. They, again, marked up their coverages a little bit. Some of the Tampa 2 coverages were pretty special. They were really good. There weren't just like 2 forms of how they rolled into it. There were like 4 or 5 different versions and iterations of cover 2 or Tampa 2.
And they were screaming on some of them. The one that comes to mind is Tyrell Dodson, Bills legend, is the pole runner on one, and he just bails on the snap, and then Allen spits it out to Kincaid. Yeah, they had some cool spins. And that one I felt kind of bad, because these are some cool coverage spins, but if you're not getting rewarded for it, it feels like you got to feel like crappy as a team.
Right.
But they were fun to watch. And again, they really put a cap on everything. Like 81.1% middle of field open coverages against the Bills. Like they, actually, wait, that might be from, sorry, hold on. Got to correct myself. That was for week 2 from Miami. Week 3 for Miami. I'm going to come back and I'm going to say that in a minute the next time I speak. But they played a ton of over the top stuff on the Bills and tried to keep everything in front of them. 68.6% in week 3. So still extremely high, and 3rd highest in the week. But keep everything in front. They wanted to play top down. They wanted to make them live efficiently, and the Bills did, which is really in their comfort zone and wheelhouse right now.
Yes. And like I said, I do think there were some high-low options. When you play that much too high safety structure, a lot of times, a lot of the concepts you use are high-low concepts, whether it's attacking the hook defender, high-lowing him, making him have a conflict, or the corner more times than not, what the Bills like to use. And so there were opportunities where Josh is just quickly getting the ball out of his hands short. And, oh, what do you know? There's someone deep down the field, like this play, right down the hash.
This one's misleading.
Yeah, it's so misleading. But Kincaid, he does come open, all right, on this double China 7 look. And so you see him right up the hashes, and he runs to the corner, and he is wide open. But as you can see with the graphics, Josh started his reads and progressions to his left. The offense is left to the top of the screen. And that's important because when a play is drawn up, there are multiple ways to attack. Typically on this 3x1 set, this double China 7 to the top of the screen, there's usually, this is like a leverage read. More times than not, if Josh gets to the line of scrimmage and he sees man coverage and he likes his matchup, Keon Coleman versus the corner out there, what they're going to do is going to run that stop or run that 50-50 ball down the field. And so I don't know if Josh, when he came to the line of scrimmage, he thought this was man coverage, because it kind of does present like cover one, just the way they're kind of lined up and the single safety. Maybe Josh
everybody's capped. It could look like man.
Yeah, it could look like man to him. But again, that is one reason he could have looked to Coleman to the top instead of starting his reads on the bottom. Now, this double China 7 with the 2 in-breaking routes right here and then that corner, this is very good against several coverages, specifically cover 3 and cover 2, because you can attack and put conflict on the corner. You can, if this guy doesn't sink enough, that corner is wide open, which kind of what happens here. But then you ask yourself, was that corner playing shallow because of where Josh's eyes were, right? Who knows? Maybe if Josh started his reads to the bottom of the screen, maybe that corner is sinking and taking away this corner route right here by Kincaid. So a lot of factors go into pre-snap reads, where the quarterback starts his reads. So Josh on this one looked to the top of the screen. It wasn't there. Keon Coleman was covered rather well. And so he quickly got it to Cook for an easy 5-yard gain while a man ran wide open, Dalton Kincaid. But again, that can be very misleading. And that's where I want to start today, because I think that a lot of these still frame pictures that we see after the game and some of these videos, people are upset. Like, they had opportunities to push it down the field. They did, but there are reasons why Josh didn't. And as I just broke down, those are some of the reasons why he may have started to his left instead of working to the bottom of the screen.
And this is the first play for the Bills offense. They're down 7-0 at this point. Maybe also Allen is sitting there like, okay, let's get the drive started. Maybe he's not looking for the chunk. Maybe he's not looking for the corner. He knows what he's got to his left. So he's thinking, okay, like, let's read this out with Coleman. It's not there. I'll spit it out to Cook. So I think that's a fair point as well. Like, he sees the single high. You can even see him check like the safety a bit on the snap. Like, he's staring almost right down that hash, right to the safety, as you have highlighted there for the old school, whatever year of Madden it was with that vision cone. Peyton Manning's used to be huge. This would be like a QB with like a 50 awareness that it could only highlight one guy at a time. And he spits it out. Cook makes a nice little move. He tries to get across, see if he can turn it into something bigger. And you hit the big point for me on this one too. Like, it's, if Allen looks towards that side, the coverage may play differently. Like 21, even right there, like he just lets Hawes go by completely unencumbered because he's reading Allen's eyes, is shading that way and making his move. You talked about the outside corner. Does he continue to get depth because he's got his deep third? And if he sees Allen looking that way, maybe he's playing with a little more urgency, I'll say, for his deep third. There's so many just moving parts from the pre to post snap change standpoint. I think looking at this and seeing like, well, the corner is open, he could have taken the shot. I think that's just a bit it's understandable, but I think it's just a bit misleading with how everything comes.
Right. And again, maybe Josh makes it to his third read in this progression next time, or one of these times when he tries running it again, and then he does hit Haas, who I misspoke. I said Kincaid a few times.
Or maybe he spits it out to Shakir, who's open underneath.
Exactly. Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because later on in the game, they run a variation of it. This is the same type of thing. Again, think about it. 2 in breakers and a corner out to the bottom of the screen. And then to the top, you're getting the same looks from Coleman and Cook. And so there's a little more of like a return on this play rather than just a square in. But with man coverage, you see Josh immediately go to Shakir, who underneath, because he gets leverage on not only the guy that's covering him, but also this linebacker who has to stay back because, again, the corner out by the tight end. But he gets it to Shakir on 2nd and 10 and gets the Bills into a 3rd and 2 situation. So again, I do think there are opportunities. If Josh wanted to hold it a little longer and take that shot, maybe Kincaid comes, or maybe, God, I can't get the tight ends right. Maybe Knox comes
there's
open.
There's too many at this point.
Exactly. And we're talking passing game. We're not talking blocking it. Knox right here versus Jordan Brooks, right? Maybe he does wait a little longer, and maybe he throws in a little sauce and like a pump fake and gets him open to the corner. I don't know. But like I said, I do think there were options. They just didn't need to take them. They didn't need to take those risks. They didn't need to throw those low percentage balls down the field because Josh was keeping the offense on track. He was taking the profit. Like you see, every single concept like this double China, there are variations to it, but Josh could really start his reads anywhere. And that's why the everybody eats mentality works and has worked the last 2 years.
Yeah, very fair point. And this is, again, it's kind of like, I think the positive of like a play like this gets overlooked because it's like, oh, he could have had this shot that could have been a touchdown, or I don't know, gets it down to like the 2 or 3 or whatever. But to your point, that is a lower percentage throw. And this is a really good game. And this is also taking advantage of a player like Shakir's skill set. You want to spit the ball out to him underneath. We talked about it so much as he got drafted. He gets the ball in his hands, turns into a running back once that ball gets in his hands. Allen sees it. Really great job by Shakir, like you said, like leveraging and pacing this route. And then, then you've got Tyrell Dodson kind of spying and like low hole playing Allen right there. You've got a middle of the field open coverage up top.
Make him pay.
Take the free profit. There's space. Who knows? Maybe if Shakir like gets out of this even cleaner, it's a straight up first down. If Brooks isn't able to even kind of like get a piece of him, this is an easy button type of play. You don't need to necessarily take that shot. And I also think it's really hard for somebody to stay and play efficient and at the same time, like take the shots when needed. Like I'm not saying it's a problem, but like no one's perfect to always be playing like, okay, efficient, on task, on time, bang, let me go for the shot and then make the, 20-yard corner route throw and hit it right here. It's just that's a hard it's a hard expectation to have for any player.
No doubt. So another iteration of Josh just, again, taking the profit. It's too high safety structure. They're capping. It's almost like an umbrella defense. They rotate into a very interesting, version of their Tampa 2. So to the top of the screen, you're having a route that we're going to talk about on the defensive side of the ball, a little snag spot route, which is very good versus cover 3, right, Ant? Very good versus cover 3.
Foreshadowing.
You can attack that hook to flats defender.
You can.
To the bottom of the screen, you're going to have the option route, and it's actually called Y goofy, Y option to the bottom of the screen to Kincaid, and that's very good versus cover 2. Kincaid's going to release behind a receiver, which is kind of cool. He lets Palmer kind of clear things out. And this is where Josh goes with the ball, and it's because you'll see the corner and the deep half safety who's rotating as the play runs. You see them just try to cap the deeper route. So Josh just takes it underneath that option route where Kincaid can hook it up or break to the out, and then he splits those tacklers and is getting that first down, taking the profit. Again, Joe Brady does a great job and has this year at giving Josh options, giving him the freedom at the line of scrimmage to go anywhere with the ball. But more importantly, we're starting to see a catalog of his offense. Like you can literally go into each game and go back and watch each game and see him run this play 3 or 4 times in different ways. And sometimes Josh doesn't start to the same spot every single time because maybe he likes a better matchup to the top of the screen, or maybe the defense rolled into cover 3 versus cover 2 post snap. And so that, again, multiple options. Pre-snap picture dictates initially, but then the post-snap picture and what they really spin into dictates where the ball goes.
Yeah, and especially with how much defenses are spinning on the snap and trying to change that pre to post-snap picture like you talked about, like you could have an intention pre-snap and that intention might be screwed or it might be perfect on the snap or post-snap. And this is that play I mentioned earlier. Like Tyrell Dodson's a pole runner. He just bails and is essentially covers grass because no one really threatens him in the middle of the field there. And you can see him just take off on the snap. And this was, one of those cool spins. You've got Ashton Davis was the boundary split field safety. He comes down into the hook. 11 is replacing him over the top as a split field guy. You've got the drop for the split field safety to the field, and then you've got Dodson as that pole runner in the middle. This was a cool spin. It just doesn't really work out because Dodson doesn't have anyone to cover, and then there's that space underneath. Kincaid reads it like he said, and then because there's no one in that center because Dodson vacated and bailed so quickly,
and
Kincaid's able
I
Kincaid's
love
able to
this.
just put his foot.
Yeah, and quarterbacks always check the safeties prior to snap and post snap. And so again, you're seeing this guy come down, and there's a gap here. Like something's gonna happen. You can tell like something's up, and Davis does drop down. But more importantly, you can see the spacing between those two safeties there. Something is definitely up. So I think Josh realized, okay, he's probably replacing Davis. But more importantly, look where the eyes of Josh go, where they go. One, Dotson turned those hips. He's running deep. Okay, there's your pull runner. There's your safety replacing Ashton Davis 21. But then more importantly, like you said, you saw that corner drop to the deep half. Look where Josh's eyes go. And I think he immediately realized, okay, this is a nice iteration of a Tampa 2. And again, the route concept with that option route, again, curl it up or go out to the flats, and then that deep out route versus these two high safety structures. It's this route, having talked to players, this route by Kincaid and the tight ends, usually paired with Palmer to the bottom of the screen there. That is so good against Tampa 2, cover 2, quarters coverage. Think about it. If this is quarters coverage, quarter, half, right? To the top of the screen. These two guys over here are playing quarters. You're really stressing this 3/2 look here. And when you're talking Palmer and Kincaid. So I think Josh did a great job of taking the profit, and these are the reasons why you see him just spit the ball out so quickly against the Dolphins rather than waiting for things to develop down the field, which may not be there in the end when you're playing this much too high safety structures.
Yeah, and then you're starting to get into this kind of mode of attack, and if things do start to sputter or do get sluggish a bit, pivoting immediately is obviously, if that can happen, that's great. Like, oh, things got tight a little bit on these last two drives. Let's get them with a shot, or let's change things up and be able to take it a little bit. But on the whole, again, what you're looking at is how the Bills operate, what their identity is, how they found success. And they found success a lot this way in the game. I think this play is a good representation of what the Dolphins were doing, like especially on known passing down and distances. They were trying to play with depth, keep everything in front of them, and play top down. You highlighted the space there. Like essentially, Davis is at that first down marker, and it's 2nd and long, and Kincaid is just past the line of scrimmage. You've got eyes from the outside corner on the outside. There is space there, and to the point, I don't know if someone wants to sit there and say like, yeah, but maybe if he keeps looking like that, he can hit the Palmer for the chunk. But this is just such a low effort, easy completion where worst case scenario, if Kincaid got tackled right away, as soon as he caught it and stepped upfield, it's 3rd and 3, it's 3rd and 4. And I also think to kind of from a, not to galaxy brain it too much, but the larger conversation in football today, like so many teams go for it on 4th down. If you just get to 3rd and short and you can get it to 4th and short, especially if you're the Bills, then you do the tush push or you just run it with whatever. So if it's 2nd and 8, you don't necessarily need to get 15 yards. You maybe only want to get 6, and then you'll run it on 3rd down to get it to 4th and 1, and then you're going to sneak it with Allen on 4th down. It changes, I think, the overall philosophy or, attack mode for a lot of teams, but especially the Bills, given Allen's presence and their run game and offensive line presence.
So let's move a little bit forward. It's 7-0. Miami's up right now in the first quarter, 4:33 on the clock, 2nd and 9 situation. This is Dalton Kincaid's touchdown, a calculated shot right on the 20-yard line. Consider that the fringe of the red zone. Empty set, more of like a fake screen and go post wheel to the top of the screen. So you have a number 1 running the post. You have Kincaid running that wheel. And I just really like Josh on this play against cover 6, another 2 high safety structure to the top of the screen. When we're talking cover 6, that's your quarter, that's your box look right here, right? You have 4 over 3 right here. These 4 defenders are responsible for these 3 eligible receivers. And so you see the one, boom, he goes up for Shakir on that fake screen. So now you got the post and the wheel. And what you're hoping from a design standpoint is to obviously have this guy pin that post route by the number 1 just a little bit. But honestly, there's some really good communication on the back end there. He passes him off to the safety. And so now Kincaid's kind of in no man's land behind that flats defender underneath and then the safety. And Josh does a great job of throttling this pass down and keeping Kincaid safe. Because think about it. If Kincaid is drifted or thrown upfield, boom, he's taking a lick. That's pretty much a hospital ball because that defender can unleash on Kincaid with the boundary being right there and everyone else having, he's got a lot of help there. And so really good work by Josh at kind of like what we talked about with Keon Coleman when then that high point honey hole shot against was it the Jets or the Ravens? I think
Ravens.
it was the
No,
Ravens.
Jets.
Yeah, Jets. And where again he throttled him down and let him play basketball. I love this throw from Josh. Throws him inside, and that throws off that deep corner, and Kincaid's able to take it in for the touchdown.
Yeah, I think, I don't have too much to add on this one. Like it's Allen just being somewhat smart with the throw. And I feel not even somewhat smart with the throw. I really, you hit the big point for me too. Like Miami really doesn't play this terribly. Like you're kind of expecting them to get caught a little bit more. Like that underneath defender flies up to see Shakir. You're hoping that Quarter's corner gets pulled a little bit, but he sees it. He just gets too flat. Like he sees it to Kincaid instead of driving on it right away. He takes a couple horizontal steps and then drives, but Allen still throws it to him in a spot where he can settle down and still make the catch. So worst case scenario is Kincaid's able to catch it, still potentially protect himself. Corner hits him, but the corner ends up just flubbing the contact. You got nothing there. End zone angle is great. Fantastic snatch trap from Spencer Brown on Chop Robinson. Chops Chop right at the wrist there. Bang, pulls him right down. Yeah, I don't have too much to add. I think this is a funny one too, because they scored their first play out, like their first touchdown in this game was a bit of a chunk, designed to play off of the underneath stuff that they normally lean into.
Right.
So yeah, I like that one. And potentially too, if you get the right look or the right coverage, say you eventually you run that against cover 3 or something like that. Maybe that deep third corner is more likely to go with that post. And now Kincaid is really open on that wheel. And that goes to a 25, 30 yard, completion or a 20 plus air yard type of throw. Yeah, that was a nice one. Another smart throw from Allen. He's become really good at that, like throwing guys into the settling down into the zone.
No
It's
doubt.
really nice to see.
Yeah, I think it was a game that, again, a lot of fans they became impatient, and a lot of fans, they want to see adjustments. They want to hear that there are adjustments being made when really the Bills have really, for the most part, stuck to their game plans the first 3 weeks. And they're able to do that because one of the continuity up front with the offensive line, whether you're talking run and pass game and blocking, and they have talent. They have talent. Everyone in the entire offseason was talking about how they didn't really add any talent at the skill positions at wide receiver. And so I think that narrative's kind of carrying into the season. But when you look at the numbers, when you watch the film where the stats aren't necessarily registered on those big passes down the field as often as we would like or expect with a big arm guy like Josh Allen, I think like that's starting to play into it. But I don't care. They're 3-0. They're efficient. You guys really worried that Josh isn't going to take those shots when they're there and they need them? I'm not. I think Josh, that is probably one of the biggest areas he's matured is we always used to talk about like having that limiter, right? That limiter and like not playing the hero ball when you don't need to. And like you said, I love you kicked off the show with it. We wanted these easy button plays and players, and now this offense is geared that way. And now we're just yearning for these, Ken Dorsey shot calls.
I was just about to say, like, that was such an issue with Dorsey because Dorsey always wanted to go for the throw, and Allen always wanted to go for the throw.
Yeah,
so it was both guys it was just bad. Each guy be like, yeah, let's get him. Yeah, let's get him. And it was like no one was there to rein the other in, and they both played into kind of like the worst versions of each other.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's interesting. It's fun to watch Josh now because he just feels and looks like a different player. And I think that now mainstream media has picked up on that, and they're actually starting to run that as a story now. But so we got to find something else to nitpick. And I get it.
I got something to nitpick. They're still only 24th in play action rate. I'm annoyed. It's only 20%. And I think that for as much as that for me is where I hope the shots start to come in.
Sure.
Because you've got that run game and everybody's trying to creep in.
And I do think there were some of those there.
Yes,
I do like in this game, the one he forced over the middle to Kincaid, I do think Coleman was coming open a little deeper down the field. I do think there are a couple of those, again, he could have taken, but he got rid of it on one of the bootlegs underneath to Elijah Moore because he saw everyone sinking.
Yeah. But maybe as we get later in the season, maybe, I don't know, I'm not picking these dates because of who they play, but I don't know, maybe like weeks 10 through 12, we start to see like things are getting a little difficult and it's harder for them to score. So maybe they talk about it midweek and it's like, hey, well, we're going to go for these play action shots. Let's try and look for the deeper shot. Let's try and not force it, but look for that first. Maybe instead of playing, check. This is a good way to put it, and it's used all the time. I think Allen and now is a lot playing like check down to touchdown. Maybe if things get tighter, it's like, hey, let's play touchdown to check down and kind of go from there potentially. If they run into like more significant struggles or dire struggles, I hope they do in the regular season, as opposed to like things all of a sudden come to a halt in a playoff game. And it's like, oh, they can't get there. But then even within that, the odds of that happening are still small because the things that they hang their head on are a good run game and a good offensive line. And that's not going anywhere. Fingers crossed, no jinx. And then the personnel and the alignment. Yeah. Then we've been telling, this is who the Bills are. It's formation, it's alignment, it's the run game, and it's take the profit and move on to the next play, live in second and short and third and short. And you just keep rolling and rolling and rolling.
All right. Let's roll on to the defensive side of the ball, and a player that at a position that I think we've been studying very closely, much like the tight ends each and every week, interior defensive line, Deone Walker. He's become a fan favorite. He's become a guy that we watch each week based because of the position he plays, the uniqueness of his size and skill set. So what were your thoughts on his play against the Dolphins? I mean, if we're talking stats wise, he didn't register many stats. Yeah. But I think this was a great microcosm of a young interior defensive player showing those flashes, but also at the same time, the risk involved. Even with those good plays, we're going to show you some of the risk involved that if he doesn't make those plays, some big plays are going to happen behind him.
Yeah, I think this game, like you said, like the microcosm aspect, I really feel like the first several games have been pretty decent for me in terms of being like par for the course. Like he's had splash plays and he's flashed, and it's just a matter of, do those plays outweigh, when he gets displaced or he gets turned or he tries to shoot and it backfires and it doesn't work. And then you're kind of like chasing your tail a little bit. I think on the whole, from what my expectations were, I think he's played more to the optimistic side of me that I think he's played well compared to what I thought he was going to be at this stage. But,
especially at nose tackle, right?
Yes.
Again, the position he didn't really play a majority of his snaps at, or
he was all over
as effective as right. So
yeah, they used him more as like a 3, a 5, like sometimes like a wide 9
on the edge.
They were playing him all over. That was a cool point too. Like Daquan Jones flashing a bunch as a 3-tech, man.
As a 3-tech.
Bro, all the penetration. And also put that into your mind. Like Daquan Jones is the quote unquote starting one, but he's even more still built towards a 3-tech frame. Like those are the type of dudes that they go for on the interior. Conversation for another time or for the entire offseason like we had. But yeah, I've been pleased with Walker. I do think there are concerns. I saw, and it's Twitter and it's hyperbolic, but I saw a lot of people just using like the one clip from the interception and being like, Deone Walker has arrived. Dude is a stud, dominating already. And then it's like, well, are you going to show the run plays where he got displaced? And not exactly like, so I think we're getting into that territory of a lot of hyperbole, but I'm pleased considering what my expectations were. And how much they've needed it given Ogunjobi being suspended and then Ed going down. Like they've needed guys to step up on the interior. And I think his flashes have outweighed the negatives, or at worst, it's like a 52-48 type of balance. And I think that's a win, given what my expectations were coming in.
Yeah, let's get to a few of his plays right now. All right. So early in the game, you saw a flash right here, nose tackle, shade nose tackle, middle of the screen. You're going to see him essentially, again, the Bills don't 2-gap often, but if you watch what he does here, gets his hands, his eyes in the backfield, you see him looking down the left shoulder of the offensive lineman. But as the running back commits, you're going to see him shed that guy and go make the tackle to the right of that offensive blocker. And this is important because we always talk about the relationship between a linebacker and D tackle. Dorian Williams is playing off of Deone Walker. So right now, with Walker quasi 2-gap in here, he's kind of like, okay, like you got to make a decision soon. Like, because if Walker takes this gap, if he throws that guy and takes this gap, now Dorian has to make him right. And vice versa, as Dorian and Deone takes this gap, which is his gap, technically, you're going to see the linebacker fall in right there. So that's important that he made this play. even though he's kind of two gapping. I love it because these are the type of things with his length, his size, and his height. He can see over those guys, stack with his long arms, and then go shed and make a tackle. And again, a play that he's not really supposed to be two gapping, but he's got that ability. And that to me is what excites me about him in the future, is that they could hypothetically expand what they do up front. We're talking 1 versus 2 gaps with a guy like that up the middle eventually.
Yeah, once they have like the full complement of everybody up front from a health and suspension standpoint, they really could start to get creative. You nailed it for Deone and Dorian. I don't have too much to add. The only thing I want to highlight is I like Daquan. He gets doubled a little bit, but he's able to limit that displacement a bit, and he gets pushed. But watch him dig his feet in, the leverage. Yeah, drops the hips, the leverage, the lean, and look how, but like he starts to force that run back inside. He squeezes that gap, which leads Achane to run into Walker. So great play from Walker. Cool, eyes and recognition and what Dorian is doing behind him. But I love the play, kind of from the quote-unquote front side piece from Daquan. Again, here in a 3-tech, being able to drop those hips. Brewer gets into him and knocks him. Brewer the center right there, but Daquan's able to drop and anchor and limit that displacement. That's huge against the zone runs, and something we've seen actually from Walker and some from other guys. Like they'll get washed down and it creates that, that crease inside, but Daquan did a good job limiting that.
After the game in the locker room, I forget which reporter asked Deone Walker the question, but Deone said it was nice to create that pressure on the Bernard interception because of the missed assignment or wrong assignment early in the game. So this is that play where Walker is in the wrong gap. So once again, over the center on this play, and you're going to see him put his helmet right into the A gap right here, which is a big no-no. That is not his gap. And so there are times like Brewer, that center is very quick. He's very good. He's a zone type center. He's very small, quick, low pad level. So he beats him out of the stance. I understand that, but more times than not, if you get beat off the bat, you got to try to work back into your gap. He says, nah, I'm not even worried about that. And much like we saw in prior games where he does this and then makes it worse by throwing the guy by and getting out right there, getting out leverage. That's exactly what happens. We saw that in the preseason. We saw that in the first 2 games where when he makes mistakes, it's things like that where he's in the wrong gap. He doesn't retrace over the top. And then he makes it worse by opening up this hole because he's trying to throw this guy by and be violent. And that's what happens on this play. And it creates a nice running lane for the running back.
Yeah, this was annoying. Shout out to Cole Bishop for coming from depth and making a tackle on Ollie Gordon, who is 6'2" and 225 pounds. But you can see it, and I know a lot of folks don't know what run fits and everything looks like, but you can see Walker's responsible for that A gap. Dorian Williams, number 42, is responsible for the other A gap. Bernard is responsible for the B, and then Bosa on the left tackle, responsible for the C. On the snap, Dorian, I almost called him Dorian Strong. Now I'm doing it. Dorian Williams. It's annoying that they both have dreads. It's 42 and 43, and they have the same first name. Just annoying. Yeah. Dorian Williams shoots that A gap right on the snap, and he's there. Look how gaps sound there. And Daquan even battles with the right guard and the right tackle. He's knocking the right tackle back. There's sound everywhere except for the Riddler question mark right there of that front side A, which is where Deone Walker should be.
Yeah.
And it's just, this is a good example too. This is what isn't getting called out. People show the pass rush or the flash on the Bernard interception, which was awesome and a key point, right? And is really good to see. But they don't point this out. It's man, this dude's arrived. He's dominating. This isn't even just a big no-no, like you said. This is just bad football. You're not sound. And to your point, sometimes things happen, right? You get caught. Work back across that center's face, especially with 72 climbing, Bernard stepping up. You're going to get one-on-one with 55, and you're huge. Try and work across his face, and all he has to do is close it a little because Dorian does a good job shooting. But because you get 2 guys in the same gap, it creates a nice little crease. You're not sound, and that's a problem.
And not recognizing the play fast enough, which, again, he's a rookie, his 3rd game. But a guy that maybe recognizes, maybe this is Daquan, he's going to insert here and make this double team and climb that much more difficult. And again, so it's a cascading effect. And if you're in the wrong gap and you're not retracing, that secondary move is not there, you're putting guys at risk, and you're seeing that thankfully Bishop is able to make the play here.
The shed is what gets me to your point. Like we talked about, whatever it was, he did that similar earlier, I think in the preseason, but it's just like, oh, I'm in the wrong gap. I'm just going to stay here and try. It's like, no, like, why are you staying there and shedding the guy to help? Like, that's not good.
Here's another play. When I talked about the risk, and you better make this play because you'll see him on this play shoot the backdoor of this run. You see him, basically lined up over the guard. And you're going to see him with a great move, go backdoor right there and just shuck that guy by. But that is risky. Why is that risky? Now look at 71. Now look at 55. Now that he just hung out Terrel Bernard out to dry. He just hung him out. He did not occupy anyone. He was going backdoor. So guess what? You better get your ass down this line of scrimmage and make that tackle, because if he doesn't, look what play is going to develop here. Yeah. Boom. There's a cutback. This is a touchdown. I'm sorry. Rapp is not going to make that tackle on HN. I'm not betting that. I'm not betting the farm that Rapp's making this tackle. So you see Walker, the risk, the reward. You see the splash play. I'm sure you were watching the broadcast. You're like, hell yeah, what a play by Walker. He took a risk here. Good thing he made this tackle, because I don't know if he misses that, Rapp's probably not going to make it, and I don't think Rousseau from the backside is making it with the speed of HN.
Yeah, fair. I tried to look at this positively, and I was like, oh, maybe, with how he steps and Rousseau steps and Bernard shoots, maybe they're trying to scrape exchange a little bit. But to your point, like, that is risky if you're going to try and backdoor zone from the backside. And this play, for as much as Walker makes it, this really gets made by Daquan fighting against the left guard, and then Dorian doing a really good job of sticking Ingold. Yeah, right in the hole, forces that cutback, and then Walker's there to make the play. Yeah, I really loved the, I don't have too much to add on the Walker piece. You nailed it. I just like the front side action. Really good. Dorian's been a good run defender in a multitude of ways, like coming forward, shooting and triggering, making the tackle. Yes. Bang. That's really nice. Like, shoot. He closes that whole hole because he just meets Ingold right in it and sticks him. That's a really nice play.
Yeah. Again, I like where Walker's at right now.
Yes.
I don't want people to think that we're bashing him here.
I thought he'd be worse.
I thought he'd be worse. That's great. No, for sure. Again, he's more of that toolsy type project player, and again, then you threw in the injury, especially it was a back injury. Like,
yeah, it's a defect. Like, I didn't even know if he'd be able to play, like, and he has to shed some weight to help the back, and then the playing, and then the leverage. I was like, oh, he's ahead of schedule, for me at least.
So I want to talk about one last player before we get out of here, and this is going to be Terrel Bernard. This is a Terrel Bernard segment. Yeah,
I was going to say, yeah, right up. As soon as he made the interception, and then I was watching the tape, and I saw they ran that concept earlier, and Bernard, if Tua would have thrown that snag earlier, Bernard could have picked that too. Once I saw those in my head, I was like, he's going to be a focus in the film room. I know Eric. I know this. It's going to happen.
No doubt. He ended the game with 6 tackles, 2 stops. He was targeted 6 times in the passing game, only gave up 3 receptions, and obviously that interception, which we're going to get to in a minute. But I want to show you guys one of the plays that I thought was pretty important to this game, especially if you're talking, Terrel Bernard and him in coverage. So let's take a look at this. This is a play from the second quarter, 11:49 on the clock. The Bills are up 14-7, 1st and 10 situation, and the Bills are just dropping out into a cover 3. But look at one, he's setting the defense in the coverage. Initially, they spin out into a single high coverage. And again, they're running cover 3. And the Dolphins, surprisingly, got Tua out of the pocket a few times, some by design, sometimes Tua just escaping the pocket. But you're seeing him roll out to his left here. And the corner is going deep with this deep corner. Bishop is going over the top. So it kind of leaves Tyreek Hill wide open over here along the boundary. Taron Johnson's hugging at the 30 because he has to now be contained, or anyone coming across. Rapp does a good job of taking that crosser away. But look at what Bernard does here. He gets his head on a swivel, finds Tyreek Hill, and goes, okay, I'm going to plaster down. I'm going to go run to him and make a play at the ball, make that catch that much more difficult, and it goes incomplete. Just a heady play by the linebacker at plastering down on this rollout. Again, cover 3, but now with it being a rollout and a 3-level passing concept, the zones are shifting, and Bernard's like, I know where he wants to go with the ball. That's Tyreek Hill in the flats, a little deeper, but in the flats there, and he's able to make this throw and catch a lot more difficult.
Yeah, you hit the big piece. I don't have too much to add for Bernard. I wanted to highlight Bosa a little bit on this play. He comes off the edge, feels or sees, or maybe he gets a crack call from someone on the outside. Like, he sees that receiver is coming down on him. You can see him reach out, feel, but then he reads that mesh point, and then how you have highlighted, gets right over the top of that block, helps, kind of force Tua into evade mode so that he can't get this throw off when Hill is potentially open. So Bosa chasing him down, getting him off the throw, combined with Bernard finding work, seeing where Hill is and chasing him down and taking a good angle, works in tandem. Another nice little rush in coverage, a little micro nugget there of those two things working together.
No doubt. And for, of course, our easy loan auto sales, making it look easy, play of the game, it's going to be Terrel Bernard's interception. And so this is going to be a fun segment. We're going to walk you through not only what he saw to get the interception, but the plays that led up to that, whether it was in this game against the Dolphins or the week before, that I think it was the Patriots ran against him. But in the press conference, you're going to hear Bernard here talk about what he saw to make that play. So listen in.
Honestly, something that we have seen on tape. It's a common route around the league. But, I want to give a shout out to Al Holcomb, the linebackers coach. He put it on tape a few times. We've worked that play. Our offense runs that play. He basically told me, if I see it, go. I think they ended up jumping the back, got to like a 3x1 or a 2x2 snug set. That's one of the, like I said, it's one of their top quick game concepts. We're in a 3-deep zone and, just saw it and broke on it.
I love when he starts talking.
I know. That's why I was laughing. You were just like, Bernard.
Yeah, I just feel at home. He's like, snug set 2x1. I was just like, yes, I love it. So let's walk us through this. All right, this is week 2. This is the Dolphins with the ball in the right hash against the Patriots. All right, and they're gonna run that same exact play. Snug set. What does he mean by snug set? We sometimes call it nasty. Snug set is that wide receiver to the top of the screen. He's on the numbers. He's tight to the tight end. All right, so this is that spot or snag concept. You have a guy hooking it up right inside the numbers. You have a corner route, and then just usually a fast flat. So the running back is either running an out route or he's just swinging it to the flat. So it's a 3-level passing concept, and they ran it against the Patriots the week before. Tua swings it out to the flats, throws it out to the flats for a short gain there to Achane. Okay, I'm sure they saw that on film. The Bills also saw that very same play, not just in this game against the Dolphins, but they saw it against the Jets. The Jets actually scored a touchdown against them on this very same concept. But if we're sticking to the Dolphins game, he said that they saw it earlier. Well, here it is. 12 personnel, double tight end set to the bottom of the screen. You're getting the same concept. You're getting that snag or spot concept. The Bills, likely based on personnel with the 2 tight ends, sent a 5-man pressure here, but they still played cover 3 on the back end. So it kind of also highlights the game plan or strategy behind it. Understanding that, okay, if they're in 11 personnel, we're just going to run regular cover 3. But with them and 2 tight ends, maybe it's going to be a run. We're going to send an extra man and kind of blitz it out. But here, the Bills run that 5-man pressure, 3 deep coverage. And you're seeing Bernard right here work his way to that snag, just like that interception. He works his way to Ingold. Ingold's not getting the ball. They're swinging it. Trey White and Bernard break on the ball and go lay a hit on Achane. So now we get to the interception, and different type of look. And this is what I want to highlight, man. And this may go unnoticed if you're just watching, on the broadcast copy. The Dolphins actually tried disguising this and hiding it. So here's one shift. All right. They're starting with, again, 4 strong to the top of the screen. They have one shift here, and then you're going to see the running back as well shift over. So they're trying to hide it and hide their intentions. But guess what? Still that snug set, still the same type of look. Bernard immediately recognized it. Again, got a little assist from Deone Walker with that pressure, as we'll see from the end zone angle. But this recognition and film work in understanding and how it didn't slow him down, those motions, those shifts to make this interception, man, this is just, these are the type of plays that make football fun when you can take it from the practice room to the field, from the film study, and put it to work in big moments, like we've seen Terrel Bernard do before, in big moments to again, really seal this game for the Bills.
Yeah, this was like the game sealing play essentially. Miami's driving down. They're looking to tie it. And he makes this play. Great job by Walker, like you highlighted, like him just quickly beating that left guard, a little stab with his right foot, and bang. Just hits him with a little club and an arm over, bears down on Tua. I mean that literally because Deone Walker running at you is like a giant bear, like bearing down on you. Gets the hands up, alters Tua's throw, potentially. Tua said it post-game immediately that he saw that flash of color there from Tua. But look at, you highlighted the arm, the angle, like where the ball is coming out. It impacts the throw. Like not only does it heat him up, but it impacts the angle and how he's able to throw and the trajectory and all that kind of stuff. And then you've got Bernard on the back end making it look easy by jumping that snag. It's just so pretty from Bernard, and for it to show up in this moment and how even really everything together, like Walker beating his man, Dorian taking the fast 3 to the flat, Bernard right there. The corner route from 80 is still covered by Trey and Cole Bishop. Like this is just essentially covered down. You got someone winning up front. You got wins at the second level with the coverage by Bernard and Dorian. You've got wins on the back end with Trey and Cole Bishop.
What did Babbage call that last week? Russian coverage together, connectivity.
Connectivity. Yep. I was going to say marriage. And I'm like, that's not it. That's what we say. That connectivity, like that was a huge point for us all offseason. Like we needed more of that. And for it to show up in arguably the biggest play of the game, to seal the game like this, it was cool too. There was a shot and I was in a spot where I couldn't like cut it and get it onto social. On the sideline after this, Bernard is standing up and he's talking to somebody. He's saying like, I rewound it. You could see his verbiage saying, I knew it was coming, or like, I saw that. He's something to indicate that like he knew that play was coming and he was all over it. Like you said, they tried to dress it up. They tried to hide it. Nah, like dude watches way too much tape for that to happen. This was huge. Like game changing play.
Great work, connectivity, pass rush, coverage, working together as the Dolphins are driving towards the end of the game, and just great work all around. And again, he gave kudos to Al Holcomb, his position coach. And we always talk about Bernard and how he always comes to the game with a notebook and his iPad. That showed up. He's coachable. He takes it from the field, or from the practice rooms, the film room meetings, everything. He brought it to the game and just really sealed it up for the Bills, man. And again, any chance I get to talk about linebackers, especially this guy, I'm all for it, man. I can't wait to have him back on in the film room when we can break this play down like we did some of his other interceptions, because just a big play and a big moment from Bernard.
Huge play, huge moment. I love the, the kind of the classroom to the field. I forget the verbiage that Leslie Frazier used something like that. Bernard's rookie year, just how fast he learns. He's able to go out on the practice field, put it into practical application. And this one was a lot harder than it looks. But Terrel Bernard made it look easy, and that's why this play is our Easy Loan Auto Sales, making it look easy play of the game. Easy Loan Auto Sales is Western New York's premier buy here, pay here car dealership with locations in Buffalo and Lockport. Regardless of your credit history, they offer the fastest car buying experience around. Get approved and reserve your vehicle all from your phone. Start your approval at easyloanauto.com, and you could be driving today. Also, real quick, I don't know if this was a joke or not, but this comment from Brandon who says, we got to get Bernard on the channel and break down some tape. That would be epic. We did that. That's a thing. I don't know if this is an inside joke and tongue in cheek, but if you want, just go to YouTube and type in Cover One Film Room Terrel Bernard, and we chopped up some tape with him. Yeah, it's been done. He, that's when he told us about why he chose 8. I still hate it. I understand his reasoning. I still don't like it. I need to see the 43.
Kobe. No, it's that was a fun game. I know. Again, I think it was stressful for some, especially in that second half when the Dolphins were kind of capping things off and playing those two high safety structures, and we wanted to see some big plays. The Bills just stuck to their plan, and it's worked, and they're going to continue to do that. There will be moments when they need to, put their foot to the pedal and open it up, and I think Josh will do just that. I am not worried about him doing that, but 3-0, balanced offense, opportunistic defense, making those big plays in those moments. And you can say whatever you want about how the defense played against the Dolphins is, 15 third downs. Well, if you can get it an offense that is explosive and fast as the Dolphins to have to convert 15 third downs, I think that's doing something good, not allowing those explosive plays to happen against them. I think there's a win in there. I know a lot of people point to that as being a loss. But to me, when you talk about that, how quickly they can score, hypothetically, forcing 15 third downs is a win. I think McDermott said that in his presser, and I do tend to agree with that. But overall, 3-0. That's all I can take from this. 3-0.
Take it on to New Orleans. And even with that third down piece too, I know the Tua jokes and the Mike McDaniel jokes in Miami and like, I just don't think Mike McDaniel's bad. And even in this game, I know Tua threw that pick. Tua made a bunch of plays in this game, like even with his legs a little bit. Yeah, like he was. I mean, granted, one, he looked like he was about to throw it in reverse and turn around and run the opposite way.
I was like, what are you doing?
Going on
like
with
seeing
that?
ghosts or something.
He literally bailed. But he made some plays with his legs. He found some dudes on the run after evading and making a play with his legs. And for as much as things can go sideways with Miami, Hill and Waddle and Achane, their speed is an immediate threat. I don't know if you can hear it. A motorcycle just went by.
Dude,
what
tradition like no other.
This is a different day than the last couple weeks and a different
It sounded
time.
like a different tone too. It's not like that rice grinder. That was like a different sound.
That was a thicker type of like, I watched it go by. Like, I don't know if it was a Harley, but it looked more like a Harley or like a Yamaha or something. I'm so annoyed right now. But yeah, the third downs were a bit frustrating, but also I think a lot of them were like, because of the various ways they happen, a lot of it on the tape, just kind of like tip your cap. Yeah. You know, I know what the Bills have been against Miami and how they're 0-3, but I don't think they're as much of a, dumpster fire and terrible team as they kind of get made out to be at times. But Erik, now that a bow is on that game, where's your head at going forward? Is it on something inside with the Bills? Is it something to watch for going forward? Is it something we didn't highlight in this game that you're still kind of focused on a bit? Where's your head at as we move forward to New Orleans this week and then New England and then Atlanta and then the bye?
I'm still stuck on this Dolphins game because going back and watching the offensive line and especially the interior between McGovern, Torrance, and Edwards, and I put some of the clips on X. They just did so many good things up the middle at creating rush lanes and the technical stuff. So I'm cutting some of that up for our insiders. I'm going to be doing a quick cut up of some technical blocking stuff that only the insiders have in our Cover One glossary, which again, it's something that only the insiders get on the YouTube channel. So if you're not an insider, please go to cover1.football and sign up. We have salary cap stuff from Greg. You and I and a few others over the years have added stuff to the glossary, usually terms, jargon, blocking, all different types of things in there. And so I do want to add some of that stuff to it because it is stuff that we're going to see each and every week. And the Bills are damn good at it. There are some plays in this game that all the offensive linemen are basically using the same technique and execution. And they did some really good things in this game. So I'm still stuck on the offensive line. And I do want to take another peek at the defensive line to kind of focus in on, because there was a lot of talk about how bad a game Rousseau had, which coincidentally enough, he led the team in pressure. So things like that, I want to go back and still look at because it was a short week and we had to prepare for this as well. So I'm still stuck on last week's game before I move forward.
Very fair. Yeah, the Rousseau one is interesting. I understand it. I even agree to a degree that his play has been somewhat underwhelming to start the year. But I saw a couple people after this game being like, I didn't notice him once. And I was on the broadcast. I was like, I noticed him a bunch. Like, what do you mean you didn't notice it? Not just because he's huge. Like, he had several plays, even if you're not watching the tape, where he was kind of influencing things a bit. But yeah, I kind of get where folks are coming from. But yeah, it's gotten, as with so many things, it gets a bit hyperbolic. I'm in a similar boat. I got a couple things to finish up with the Miami game. Do disguise coverage tonight. I think I'm going to be focusing on, some of the run game stuff, but really a lot more of the tight ends and some cool stuff that they've been doing. And then I'm excited to get onto the New Orleans tape fully, mainly because I like what Seattle's defense does. So I'm excited to watch more Seattle Seahawks against the Saints because they just beat the hell out of the Saints this past week. Their front was just annihilating the Saints line.
Just throwing guys around, yeah.
Bro, their tackles are getting blown up. Like their twist and side are working. It was so messy for the Saints in a lot of bad ways and brutal ways. But yeah, then it's on to New Orleans, and we'll see what this team can do going forward. But anyway, you slice it, they're 3-0. And they really haven't done anything crazy other than just dance with the girl that brought them, and they're 3-0. So a lot of positives to be taken from this. We hope you folks took a lot of positives from this episode and that you do every week when you come here and join us here in the Cover One Film Room. If you like this episode, please drop a like, here on YouTube. Turn on notifications for the Cover One Film Room playlist. If you're listening on one of the audio-only platforms, that's cool too. Please rate, review, and subscribe on the audio platform that you are listening to this show on. And tell your family, friends, loved ones about the show, about the brand, about the channel, whether you are a Bills fan or they're a Bills fan or a football fan or whatever. We appreciate any and every ounce of support, positive feedback, word of mouth, like, review, subscription, all of that kind of stuff. That'll do it for us here in the Cover One Film Room. Thank you, as always, to Mr. Joe DeRosa, the man behind the scenes, who helps us do so much from a pre and post snap episode standpoint. I'm done.
Same thing.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah,
works.
post snap. That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. At least I didn't call Jackson Hawes Spencer Hawes, which I fingers crossed for that, because if I talk about him on disguised coverage, there's a high probability I'm going to end up saying Spencer.
Yeah.
But until then, until the next time we see you, for myself, Anthony Prohaska, for the godfather and founder of Cover One, Mr. Eric Turner, we hope you and your family and friends and loved ones are all doing well and staying safe. Be kind to one another. Take care of one another. We will see you when we see you. Join me later tonight for disguised coverage. Check out Turf to Tape with Eric. Yeah. And as always, Godspeed and go Bills.